Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well. In today's video, we are going to be building a South African inspired lodge or safari lodge, but I can't really give you the safari, because safari means wild animals, which we don't have a lot of in game. So I guess just a South African inspired lodge. Before I get far into this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you do enjoy this video, and also it does help my channel out and I would greatly appreciate that. But yes, so let's get into what I'm currently doing. So I'm just laying down the base for the foundation because I do want the lodge to sit a little bit higher than where the ground is at. So that's what I'm doing. The reason why it's a South African inspired lodge is because, if you didn't know, I am from South Africa and I've been building for The Sims now for like 3 years, and I have never built anything remotely inspired by my country, which is a shame and needs to end. And so today I'm here to end it. And I thought that I got adventure awaits. I love Gibby Point. It's one of my favorite worlds because it's so lively, and I love a lively world. It's also the reason why, for example, I don't use a world like Tumblr, because there's not a lot of Sims there. They aren't doing a lot of things in the world, but in Gibby Point, it's so nice and lively. So I haven't built for that pack yet. I haven't built for that world, and I thought this lot was perfect for the build that I'm doing today. It's the Hothead Rock Hideaway lot, situated in Gibby Point. It's a 64 by 64 lot, and so it was nice and big enough for what I have planned for today. I'm sure you saw the thumbnail. This is a big build, so it will be a two-parter. So I'll build the exterior structures in this part, and then I will be decorating in the second part, and I'll give you a little bit of a preview of the decorating at the end. I think it turned out so good. But yes, like I was saying, I am from South Africa, haven't built anything South African inspired, and the reason why I wanted to do a safari lodge is because, one, I like to build community lots, places where your Sims can go to, and also just what I love about my country is, one, our natural landscapes, or the natural beauty of our country, and I love our animals. My favorite animal is a lion, or I should rather say a lioness, because honestly lions are a little bit useless in my opinion. If you have studied animals, or if you watch things about animals, for example, I love watching National Geographic. I can get lost in like days and days of watching just documentaries about animals. And my favorite ones to watch are about big cats, so it makes sense that my favorite animal is a big cat. And so I wanted to build, something that takes in both of those things. But like I was also saying, can't really give you the animals because, well, in this game, there's not really wild animals, and if they are nothing like African wild animals. So I did include in the thumbnail some CC animals that I found, but obviously they don't move, they're just like decorations. And so I'm hoping that one day, if they ever put out an African inspired pack, or a pack that is inspired by South Africa, they would have to include something about animals, because they feature so much in our culture, our heritage. Our money even has like different animals on. So for example, the 10 rand note is a rhino, the 20 rand note is an elephant, 50 rand note is a lion, 100 rand note is a water buffalo, and then the 200 rand note is a leopard. So I just feel like there has to be something about animals in there, and it can't be what happened with Tomerang, which was the rabbit hole tiger sanctuary. Absolutely not, will not tolerate that. But there's been this rumor that Adventure Awaits, Royalty and Legacy was actually the last pack for The Sims 4, and it's starting to look like that may be true. So our hopes for an African world may be down the drain. They did try to give us something like that with Royalty and Legacy, but Dambele, which I think is how you would say it, I've heard a lot of people say Dambel, but I think it would be Dambele, which is the part of Hungarian that's like inspired by West Africa, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the only African thing that we'll ever have in this game. And I actually used a lot of the furniture that we got from Royalty and Legacy, and then, you know, the base game update that we had before, the West African base game update. I used a lot of those things inside. But for now, I'm going with the structure. The structure is very not prevalent, but it's used a lot in lodges in South Africa. So I wanted to, I'll include like a photo of a Pinterest board of what I was following for the exterior. This is very different from anything I've ever built, so there's a lot of trial and error. And also it appears that terrain has now become my best friend, because ever since, or like a few months ago, I've been building a lot with terrain, which if you asked me to do that 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't have done that at all, because I was just so afraid of the terrain tool. But I've been working a lot with it. And so for this build, because I was working a lot with terrain and also of how I placed the terrain and stuff, there was a lot of landscaping. I remembered I finished building the main structures around maybe like 7 o'clock last week Saturday, and the rest of the night I spent just landscaping the build. So I did cut out a lot of the landscaping, but it's only because it took really long. And at that time I thought I was going to include the furnishing parts in the video, like make it one part, but it turned out no, it cannot be one part. We would be here for the entire day, because it just took so much time to figure the outside out. And then also I don't think that the inside took that long. I haven't decorated any of the rooms, so you'll see this is the main structure. And for the main structure, I'm thinking, or what I did in the main structure was I made a cafeteria, a spa with a sauna, and also there's like an apartment for whoever runs the place. So my idea was that perhaps it's a couple that was living in the city somewhere, they've retired, they've now built this lodge and they're running it, and so they live in a small apartment in the, you know, in the main structure. And then we'll have 4 like cabins outside. So the 2 of the cabins are in the shape of a hut, which is a structure that you'll see a lot in South Africa, especially rural South Africa, and you'll see it a lot in lodges as well. So I wanted to incorporate that as well. What I'm busy with right now is actually creating a fire pit. My whole idea for this was a built-in fire pit, and I was thinking that the couches that we either got with, you know, Dream Mom Decorator, or the one that we got with Royalty and Legacy, that you can kind of make a circular couch, I was thinking it was going to fit perfectly into that little circle that I drew over there, but it did not. And so that plan was a bust to make it look like a built-in, you know, fire pit area. So I had to go with a bonfire area instead. So that's what that little circle is. You can see now I got the main structure up, but honestly the shape of it does change a little bit over the course of the video, because yeah, I just felt like maybe it should have been bigger. And then even when I was decorating the inside, I had to change it as well, because there was certain things that I wanted to add, but I'll speak about that in the second part. And then for the roofing, a lot of the roofs were these lodge, what do I call them, lodge structures, lodge builds, lodges or whatever. They have this peaked roofing, and then they'll have like struts or whatever you call them, like holding up the roof, which I'll do a little bit later in this video. So that's why you see I am pulling out the roofing so that it goes way past where the actual roof stops, if that makes any kind of sense. And the reason why is because I'm going to try and do that struts thing later on, which was a little bit complicated because I had to find logs and stuff that I could make it with. And I'll just explain that when I'm doing it so that it makes more sense, because right now I'm doing something entirely different, setting up the stairs to the back. And then here I wanted there to be some water. So the whole idea is that in many of the safari lodges, they'll be built in a way that animals can actually come up to where you are staying, but obviously at a safe distance. I'll see if I can maybe find like a photo of what I'm speaking about, but they can come up to you. So I had to build this lodge in a way that there was like this open space in the back that animals could kind of come up to, even though that's not what's going to happen in the game. Just, you know, for my imagination and also for this bowl to kind of be true to what I was inspired by, I wanted to make it so that the back part was open. And if you look at the back of this lot, there's just like not a forest, but it's just landscape. There's nothing in this, you know, in this vicinity. There's no houses, nothing like that. I thought this lot was so pretty. It is not very true to, you know, what the savannah would be like, which is where the lodges that I'm inspired by are located. But it was the best lot. I was thinking about perhaps putting it in Oasis Springs, but the problem with Oasis Springs is you can see like residential lots in the background, which is, you would not have residential lots close to, for example, one of our national parks is called the Kruger National Park, which is where a lot of our wild animals, they roam free. So you can go there, you can go on safaris and you'll see buffalo, lions, cheetahs, leopards, rhinos, elephants, giraffes. They're all just running free over there, you know. And so there wouldn't be residential areas located close to that, I don't think. My dream is to one day go to the Kruger, because like I said, I love, well, I don't know if I said it already, but I think you may have gathered from this what I've said previously, but I love animals. And so my dream is to one day go and see them, you know, in their natural habitat. Because I've seen elephants, I've seen lions, cheetahs, any kind of cat that naturally exists in South Africa, wild cat that naturally exists in South Africa. I've seen them, but I've never ever seen them in their natural habitat. So it is a dream of mine to one day, you know, to be able to go to the Kruger and see them, or to a safari, because there's many other parks in South Africa where you can see those animals in their natural habitats, but the Kruger is just the most well-known one. So yeah, you can see I'm putting up the cabins now. So one is a hut, and then you have this normal structure. My idea, I guess, is that the normal structure is more expensive probably than the hut, and I'm thinking that maybe I will have one of them be single beds and then some of them be double beds. And then my idea for decorating them is that each hut will be decorated according to a certain animal that is or that are native to South Africa. So for example, one will be a leopard, the other room will be decorated according to a zebra, like some people would say it, and then another one maybe like a giraffe, and then another one be neutral, to kind of represent lions and elephants. And also on that note, I obviously wanted to include a lot of animal paintings in this build. We do not have that in game. We really do not. And for all of the lodges that I myself have visited, there's or a huge part of South African decor, there will always be an animal in there. So I went on the gallery, scoured the gallery for some animal paintings, included them in this build, and when we go and decorate in the second part, I will, you know, give you all of the paintings that I used, where I got them, and whatever. And because I included them in this build, when you want to download this from the gallery, for some reason, when you include paintings that are not CC, they are paintings on the gallery, so they aren't CC, it will count as CC if you upload a build with those paintings in on the gallery. So if you want to download this build, I will only put up this build after the second part, but if you want to download it, you will have to sort by custom content. I think this is probably a good idea then for me to say that if, I don't know how it works on PlayStation or any console, can you guys sort by custom content? Because I mean, I guess the whole idea is that you don't even have access to custom content, so would you even be able to sort on the gallery by custom content? Because if not, then you would not see this build. So if anybody who is a console player is interested in this build and they want it, please let me know in the comments. I'll create another version. I will remove all of the paintings, which honestly will remove some of the essence of the build. I'm not gonna lie to you. I will show you some of what I decorated at the end, and you'll see that the animal paintings do play a huge role, but I'll try my best to find some other paintings in game that can replace them. But yes, I'll upload another version for you if you want to download the build and you are playing on console, and you cannot sort by custom content. So yeah, I like I said, I wanted to have this open area, right? So that the idea is that animals will come up here, they will go to the water, the not the pool water, but the other water on the side, and people will be able to see them up close and personal, or as up close and personal as you can get, because I did also put hippos in the water with the CC objects, which I will not include in the gallery upload. It's just for photos, you know, so that you can get the idea of what I was going for. But I did include hippos here, so obviously everybody needs to maintain a safe distance, because if you've ever heard anything about hippos are actually, I think, the #1 animal that causes fatalities in South Africa, of wild animals. Obviously there's other animals that may be causing fatalities, but of wild animals, I think hippos are the most dangerous that you'll ever come across. So yeah, I did include them here. And the idea is that you can observe them from these balconies from a safe distance, and that is why all of the cabins are much higher than the ground, because that was what I was going for, you know. So because I did that, though, obviously I had to work with terrain, but I do prefer working with terrain over working with platforms or other rooms. That way, if I want to build up to the limit of, so you can only build up to 4 floors, I can still do that, because terrain doesn't really count as a floor, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what I was doing over here. But because, like I said, I was building with terrain, it involved a lot of cleanup, because you can kind of see now, right, where the terrain is raised, it's this tan color, and I guess that's to represent the rock or whatever. I do not like that color for some reason. So you're gonna see later, I actually go around this entire build and I cover up all of it with rocks. So that took me so long, but so worth it in my opinion, because it just looks better to me personally. So yes, I didn't do any of the decorating of these outside balconies just yet, just because I feel like sometimes the decorating on the inside will inform what I do on the outside. It's a different case for the balcony of the main structure, because I did kind of decorate that before I went inside. But with the huts or the cabins or whatever, like I said, I want to decorate them according to a specific animal, so it would make sense then to wait to decorate those other outside areas of the huts and so on. And then here I had these open areas on the side. I didn't want them to go to waste, so I do convert them to like outside areas where they can do something else while they are here. And then for the fireplace area, you would have seen I removed the terrain out there, because I actually liked how it looked without the terrain around it. And then the reason why I also wanted to use terrain is because, if you didn't know, you can use fencing, and the fencing will go according to the terrain, so it will look kind of wonky like you see here now. You can't usually do that by just throwing fencing down on the floor. Like, you can't make it wonky like that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so that's why I wanted to use terrain, so that it made it look a little bit imperfect, because I feel like that's exactly how it is. Because a lot of the times lodges are located in mountainous regions where there is very uneven terrain, so you would see the fencing like this, you know. So that's why I wanted to do it with the terrain instead of trying to do this with it being on the ground. It just wouldn't have worked out that way. But you can see it's kind of finicky, because it will not necessarily go in the direction that you want it to go, so you may have to do it in smaller parts so that you can kind of finesse it into the direction that you want it to go. And then you can also like raise or manipulate the terrain a little bit more so that it goes in the direction that you want it to go as. I think that the doors will most likely change, because when I was decorating the main structure, the doors and windows changed a lot, which is why I didn't actually include a lot of that process in here. You'll see there is doors and windows on the main structure, but I probably didn't show it, and it's because it does change quite a lot. So that's because usually when I'm decorating, sometimes I'll want to include a much bigger window than I initially planned. So a lot of the times when I'm building, before I go in, the windows are usually just placeholders. That's why I didn't show that process. And there you can see it happened so quickly, the landscaping. It only took me 5 hours to do it. I didn't show much of that, but you can see that I covered up all of the tan colors, or I tried to cover up as much as possible. Now we are working in the entrance area. A lot of the times at the entryways of lodges, you'll have either a nice fountain, a sculpture, an animal sculpture. I was looking for an animal sculpture. I found this one. It does kind of look like a lion, but if you go from the side, it looks like a snake. And then I remembered that with a Decor to the Max, which is a kit, we got this giraffe, like, what is it called, a sculpture or whatever, and I just sized that up and placed that in there, and I thought it looked really nice, so I left it that way. And then here with the doors in the front, those doors also change. I used this barn door from Horse Ranch first, but I actually then remember that I could make, because I wanted the door to be like open, but then I remembered later on that I can actually make an open door myself. So I'll do that in the second part. And then I was just placing around some lights. I used the lights from my wedding stories, and then this light up tree which we got with businesses and hobbies, because I wanted it to look very pretty at night as well. And I think I'll show you some of that at the end of how it looks at night. It's so pretty. And then I just put out some tables and chairs out here in the front. Didn't really put out anything else, because there's going to be a lot of objects on this lot, so I really did want to keep it to a minimum, because I didn't know how much I was going to do on the inside just yet. And I know that sometimes the amount of objects can be a concern for some people. I mean, it's definitely a concern for me. I feel like my laptop is not holding up as nicely as it used to, because I have too much CC and mods. It's honestly a problem. But anyways, and then I did change the front a little bit from the beginning part that you saw while I was landscaping. So there was columns right now where those two pillars are. I removed them and I just placed down a one tile room. I thought it looked better. It also fit more with my inspo. Right now I'm creating the struts or whatever that I explained in the beginning. Unfortunately though, in live edit objects, we have a lot of log poles. We have a lot of like poles and stuff that you can build with, but you cannot rotate them with the tool mod. So for example, that log that I'm placing there in the middle, that was so perfect to create these struts with, or whatever you call them. I don't know if they're called struts. I'm really pulling on my grade 9 technology knowledge at the moment, because that's where we learned this stuff. But I don't remember if it's called struts, but I'm calling them struts. So I tried to do that with a pole or the log that's in the middle. Like I said, it would have been perfect, but you can't rotate it with the tool mod. So I had to go through the catalog to try and find something that I could rotate, and unfortunately this plank was the only thing that I could rotate. Now, does it look fine? It looks fine, honestly it does, but it would have looked so much better if it was a log, in my opinion. But there aren't any other logs that I can rotate to be at this angle, so I had to settle for the plank. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to line them up. And then I also found this it's like a wooden log that's also laying down. I could have used what do you call this, the thing that the columns go into, I can't remember, but I could have drawn a wall and then placed those things there, the column things on it. What is it called? I can't get to it right now, but I could have done that. Instead though, I went with this log that I found in live edit objects, and I just placed that across so that those planks or the struts, would have something to anchor itself onto, if that makes sense, which is what I'm doing right now. You can see that I'm trying to connect it to the log that I put across. Yeah, but it looks fine. It turned out right, or it turned out the way that I wanted it to turn out, basically. And then I obviously had to decorate these, would you call them patios, balconies, and I came up with this seating arrangement. I'm using the chairs from Desert Lux, and then this is my favorite table in this game at the moment, so I can't stop using it. I used it in my last build as well. I use it as an ottoman and I use it as a table. It's just such a pretty one. We got it with royalty and legacies. And then just put a fireplace down here because I felt like it would be perfect for those nights in South Africa where it's a little bit colder. It's currently getting cold and I am so miserable. It's been raining non-stop for the past 5-6 days. I hate it here. Like, honestly, I hate it here. I love summer. I am such a summer person that whenever winter comes, it just feels like I have this sense of doom and dread, because I just don't like the cold. I hate it so bad. So yeah, the fireplaces are all for those nights where it might be a little bit chilly, which I've heard it does get a little bit chilly in the savannah, where these safari lodges are usually located. And then I was decorating the pool area. I did go with, so for the pool area, right, this one tile that you see is different. That's actually a terrain paint that we got with royalty and legacy. For some reason I could not put flooring down there, so I decided to do the terrain paint instead to cover it up. Otherwise it just would have been grass, which would have been a little bit odd. So I did that terrain paint, but I do end up changing it, and now that I'm seeing it again, I actually like it. So I might change it back for when you see this next part to this patterned terrain paint, because right now it's just a normal gray brick, but I actually do like the pattern. I think it looks nice. And then also with the chair or the lounges and then the umbrellas, I was looking at the photos and I felt like the white was a little bit too stark white, so I did change that to more neutral browns, and I changed the umbrella to black, and I thought it fit in a little bit better. I also wanted to include, the diving boards that we got with adventure weights. I also wanted to include the slide that we got with adventure weights. I do wish I left maybe more space to include the spiral slide, which I think you can include on the pools. I think I've seen that before, but I didn't have enough space for that, so I just included that small black one. And then there I was gonna put a fire pit in this area, but it was actually, the fire pit was too small for how big the circle was. To me the circle looked so small, but when I went back and started decorating the fireplace or the fire pit area, the circle was actually much bigger, so it didn't make sense to have a small fire pit area, so I made that a bonfire area, which also makes sense for I guess what you would do at these lodges. I don't know, I haven't been at a proper safari lodge, but I've definitely been to some lodges and hotels, so I can draw on my knowledge for like the decor elements for this build. But as to the activities, I don't know, but I've watched a lot of content of people visiting safari lodges in South Africa, and some of them go on night safaris and they'll stay in tents in the wild with these animals. And as fun as that seems, I feel like that would be such a scary experience for me. But anyways, what I'm busy with right now is I had this open spot, right, and like I said, I wanted to include some activities. So I thought archery was a perfect activity for an outside activity at a South African lodge. And then also something very important in South African culture, which is also why I think the bonfire is important, because I can imagine a situation in which you're winding down for the night, you go outside, everybody at the lodge are at the bonfire sitting, maybe having a few drinks, roasting a few marshmallows. That makes sense. But something that's also very important is we love braaiing, which in South Africa, a braai is a barbecue, but we call it a braai. So I had to make an outdoor braai area, which is what is going to be on the other side of this wall that I'm busy with right now. So what I'm currently busy with, I've recently gone to an archery place, right? And they had this place where they had all the bows on the wall, and then they would ask you, are you left-handed, are you right-handed, and they would give you gloves and whatever. So I wanted to create such a situation, because if you look at the archery activity object, right, there's only bows in that little thing at the end, and or not bows, but like the arrows. There, you can see what I'm talking about. There's only arrows in there. So I was thinking, where would they get the bows? So I found these bows in debug, but then I thought, how am I going to display the bows? So I found a pipe, which I think we got with Get Together, rotated the pipe so that the actual parts that should be against the wall on the outside, so that I have somewhere to hang the bows on. I don't know if that's the best way to do it at the moment, but it's the only object that I could think of that I could hang the bows on. If you have a better object in mind, please let me know in the comments, and then I'll switch it out for that object. And then for this braai area, I'm actually thinking about it now, but we would actually not use this grill for a braai. So I'm going to attach a photo of what we usually use, and I think I might change it out for something that is more authentically South African, because I don't know why I didn't think about it at that point in time, but we wouldn't use this grill. It's not right. So I might need to go and change that grill out, or I'll keep it the same, but I'll include it in the photos that I usually include at the end. So yes, I'm just decorating these shelves. I wanted to place some shelves where there would be like plates and stuff, because the idea is that it's like a self-help braai. So you come here with a family that you're visiting with, and if you want to have something outside, if you don't want to have something at the cafeteria, then you can come and braai over here. And then I also think that something that South Africans love to do is to drink. So I had to include a bar. I include an outside bar and I include an inside bar. So you're going to see me do that in a minute. I am using these dividers or wall decor objects that we got with the kit. I think it's called the outdoor, no, I actually don't know what it's called, modern retreat kit or something like that. Is it by Peacemaker? I actually don't know who it's from, but that's what those paneling are from. And then the counters are from Snow Escape. The table is the gorgeous carved tables from the Royalty and Legacy packs. Like, they ate with the carving on those tables. It's so pretty. And then here I used the awning from Desert Luxe, because I wanted it to be a bit different. I definitely could have included it under the roofed area, but I just wanted to use this awning somewhere, so that's where I decided to use it. And then just to make it look a little bit more stable or whatever, I used a curtain rod. Oh no, I don't think that's the curtain rod. I think that is the beams from Love Struck that I used around it to kind of cover it up and make it look a little bit more structured. And then the bar, I think it's just base game bar. The chairs are Desert Luxe as well. And then I decided to put this paneling here as well, because I didn't like that whoever is manning the bar, their back would be open, if that makes sense. It doesn't really matter in the game, but I just felt like their back should be closed, and then I should also put a bar back, which you see me do at the moment. I think I went with one from Get Together. I am going to eventually put the bar back there. I know I removed it, but I will definitely be putting it back there. And then I wanted some lighting in here, so I'm using this lighting from the Party Essentials kit. It's my favorite lighting. I wish it was a little bit longer though, so that it hangs like more low down, but I'm actually going to use the tool mod to drag the lighting down so that it sits right under that beam that you see over there. And then so I have this big area. I really did not know what to do with it at all. and I was thinking. I even gave myself like an hour to just sit and think. So I started drawing these half walls because I kind of wanted to cordon off the area, and the whole idea first was to put like a seating area right in the middle. But then I thought that was a little bit inconvenient because I mean the archery area is at the back. It doesn't make sense to then place something in the middle, which Sims would have to route around and then go into the archery area. And also something that I did, or that I think I'm going to do still, is I decided that I was going to use the terrain tool again, which you see me do right now, to drop the archery area down so that you actually have to walk down into it. I felt like it looked better and that it just made more sense because the terrain is so flat in a game that going from grass to stone just personally does not look natural to me. So usually I'll create either a barrier in between the two, or I'll create a step down or a step up so that it makes sense that the terrain is now changing. But that is actually the end of this video. I can't believe that we made it to the end. And let me show you a quick preview of what I have decorated already. I haven't started decorating the rooms, but I have started decorating the main structure. I've actually finished it, so I'll give you a little sneak peek of it, and then I hope that you'll join me in the second part for the decoration of this lodge. So let me go into the game quickly and I'll give you a little tour of the lodge. Okay, so I have loaded into my game now. This is what it looks like. So this is kind of the idea, you know, that I was going for. These are CC animals that I just placed around. And there's the hippos and whatever. And it does make sense that all of these different animals are together because they do usually band together in the wild. Because I guess the whole idea is that if they are together, their predators will leave them alone. But I didn't show this side, like putting these things down, mainly because I don't really know what to do with it. I think it looks fine to me, but if you have a better idea, please let me know in the comments. Let me take you to the front through the bushes and everything. So this is the front of the bulbs, and let's go inside. So I'll show you the entry and then I'll show you maybe like the living room. So I found this painting on the gallery and I thought it was just so perfect for the entryway. And just look at it. I'm so happy with how this turned out. So there's the entryway, and then through this little archway is a cafeteria, which I'm not going to show you. I'll show you that in the next part. And then here is the little living room, chill area, whatever. So yes, that will be in part 2. I hope to see you all there. If you would like to, you know, be here for the second part, please don't forget to subscribe and also like this video and also put on the notification so that you know when I post the second part. But let me know what you think so far about the build. And yes, I'm excited to show you the rest of this build. Thank you so much for being here, and I will chat to you in the next one. Bye bye, guys.